The laundry room was my least favorite place in the entire building. It always smelled like detergent mixed with damp socks, and the flickering fluorescent light made everything look washed out and tired, kind of like how I felt most evenings after work. I lived on the 7th floor of a tall gray apartment building, tucked away from the noise of Karachi's rush, and yet the laundry room on the ground floor was a place that somehow never felt peaceful. That day I just wanted to finish quickly. I dumped my clothes into the washing machine, pressed the button, and sighed as the machine began to hum. I leaned back against the cold wall, scrolling absently through my phone, when I heard the door creak open. Hey, came a hesitant voice. I looked up, and that was the first time I saw him. He was standing in the doorway, holding a small laundry basket against his hip. His hair was still damp, like he had just showered, and he wore a plain white t-shirt that somehow looked better than it should have. His eyes were calm but curious, scanning the room before landing on me. "Oh, hi," I said, tucking a stray strand of hair behind my ear. He smiled, small and polite. Didn't think anyone actually used this place. I was starting to believe these machines were just for decoration. I laughed quietly. "Trust me, they work most of the time." He chuckled, stepping inside. "I'm Adam, by the way. Apartment 7B. My heart gave a tiny, unexplainable skip. "Wait, 7B. You're right next to me. I'm 7A. His eyebrows lifted in surprise. "No way. So you're the one who plays music late at night." I blushed, suddenly self-conscious. Guilty. But in my defense, it helps me write. "Right?" he asked, putting his basket down. "Like stories. Mostly articles. Sometimes short fiction," I replied, watching him start his machine. "What about you?" "I just moved back home," he said. "Graduated a few months ago. My mom's apartment's being renovated, so I'm staying here for a while." I nodded, pretending to focus on my spinning clothes, though my attention was nowhere near the machine. There was something about his voice, calm but warm, that filled the room differently. It was rare to meet someone in this city who didn't sound rushed. Minutes passed in a comfortable silence, broken only by the rhythmic whirring of machines. I could feel his eyes on me occasionally, the same way I kept stealing glances when he wasn't looking. "So, writer of 7A, he said at last, leaning against the counter. "What's your story?" I smiled at the phrasing. "My story? Everyone has one," he said. "Why else live in a city like this if not to chase something?" I looked down at my hands. Maybe I'm chasing peace. Or trying to write enough to find it. He nodded like he understood completely. Fair answer. Something about the way he said it made me feel seen, in a way no one had in a long time. The washing machine beeped, breaking the moment. I opened it, pulling out the warm, freshly washed clothes, and began folding them on the counter. He came over to do the same, and for a second our hands brushed. It was just skin, a touch accidental, but it left a strange electricity running through my arm. He looked at me, startled, and then smiled softly like he'd felt it too. "Sorry," he murmured. "It's okay," I said, my voice lower than usual. The silence that followed was heavier now, charged. He broke it first. "You know, I used to hate laundry too. Back in college, I'd avoid it for weeks. But now, this doesn't seem so bad." I laughed, folding another shirt. "You mean because I'm here?" He raised an eyebrow playfully. "Maybe." His confidence was subtle, not arrogant, just enough to make me blush again. It was the kind of flirting that felt genuine, not practiced. As he spoke, I realized I was smiling more than I had in days. Something simple, something real was forming between us. Not love yet, maybe, but the quiet possibility of it. When both of us finished, we lingered instead of leaving. Neither wanted the moment to end. "Do you ever write about real people?" he asked. "Sometimes," I said. "When they're interesting enough." He grinned. "Then maybe I'll make it into one of your stories." I laughed, shaking my head. "We'll see." He took his basket and started toward the door but paused before leaving. "Hey," he said softly, If you ever need help carrying your laundry or I don't know, a coffee break while it spins, I'm right next door. The warmth in his tone made my chest tighten a little. I'll keep that in mind, I said. He smiled one last time and walked out, leaving behind the faint scent of detergent and something else. Maybe his cologne, maybe something just him. I stood there for a long while after he left, staring at the machine, wondering why my heart felt lighter than it had in weeks. That night, when I sat by my window with my laptop, the city lights blinking below, I tried to write. The words came easily this time. And though I didn't name him, the story that unfolded on the screen started in a laundry room, with a boy from 7B and the girl who always wrote too late into the night. The next few days, I couldn't help but notice every sound from the apartment next door. Door closing, footsteps in the hallway, faint music through the wall. Each time my heart reacted like it was waiting for something or someone. It wasn't long before I ran into Adam again. It was Saturday morning. The sky outside was pale and sleepy, and I was sitting on the balcony with a cup of coffee, trying to write. But my mind wasn't on words. It was still back in that laundry room, replaying the way he'd smiled before leaving. Then there was a soft knock on my door. When I opened it, there he was. Same easy smile, hair messy like he'd just rolled out of bed. He was holding a small paper bag. "Morning, neighbor," he said. "I brought muffins. My mom sent too many." I blinked, surprised. "You're seriously using muffins as an excuse to visit?" He grinned. "You caught me." I laughed and stepped aside. "Come in then." He walked in, glancing around my apartment. It was small, cozy. Books stacked in corners, fairy lights draped near the window, my writing desk cluttered with notebooks and coffee mugs. "It looks like a story lives here," he said softly. "Maybe it does," I replied. "Or maybe it's still being written." He handed me a muffin. "Then I'll be honored if I make a cameo." We sat on the couch, eating and talking, at first about random things. The city's power cuts, favorite music, his job hunt. But gradually, the conversation slipped into something deeper. He told me about his father who'd passed away 2 years ago, and how moving back home was harder than he'd expected. I told him about how I'd come to the city after a broken engagement, trying to rebuild my life through words. We didn't pity each other. We just listened. There's a quiet kind of closeness that forms when two people understand loneliness in the same language. When he left that morning, he didn't say much, just smiled, the kind that said, "I'll see you again soon." And he did. Often. Some days we'd meet in the laundry room again, joking about who used too much detergent. Other days, he'd knock just to borrow sugar or ask me to proofread his resume. One evening, when the rain poured without warning, we sat together by my window, watching the street lights blur in the downpour. He told me then, "You know, when I first saw you, you looked tired. Like the world had taken more than it gave." I looked at him, caught off guard. "And now?" "Yes. Now," he said quietly. "You look alive." Something shifted between us in that moment, a truth we both felt but hadn't said. From then on, everything changed without needing words. He started leaving small notes by my door. Silly doodles, sometimes quotes from books we both liked. I'd respond by sliding little notes under his door, often teasing him. It became our language, paper and ink instead of confessions. Until one evening I found no note, just silence. Hours turned into a day, then two. His apartment was dark, the door locked. I tried not to overthink it. Maybe he was busy, maybe gone somewhere. But worry crept in anyway. On the third day, I finally saw him in the hallway, suitcase in hand. "Adam!" called. He turned, surprised but smiling, a little too carefully. "Hey, I was just about to text you. Where are you going?" I asked, my voice quieter than I meant. "My mom," he said. "She's not well. I'll be gone for a bit. Maybe a few weeks." I nodded, trying to keep my tone steady. "I hope she's okay." "She will be," he said, then paused. "I'll miss our laundry room meetings." I tried to smile. "You'll survive without detergent jokes." He chuckled softly, then looked at me for a long second, like he wanted to say something more. But he didn't. He just whispered, "Take care, writer of 7A." And then he was gone. The days after that felt heavier. The apartment walls seemed quieter. I still wrote, but the words came slower, emptier. Sometimes I'd find myself in the laundry room for no reason, just standing there, half expecting him to walk in with that half smile and easy voice. Weeks passed. And then one evening as I returned from work, there was an envelope taped to my door. It was his handwriting. "I don't know how long I'll be away, but I wanted to say this. You've made this place feel like home, and I don't think I've told you that enough. If stories can bring people together, then maybe this is ours, the one that began with a washing machine and silence. Keep writing. A." I sat by the door and read it 3 times. My eyes blurred somewhere between the lines. I wanted to call him, to tell him that home wasn't the same without him in the hallway next door. But I didn't. Waited. 2 months later, winter settled in. The building was colder, quieter. Until one Sunday evening, as I carried my laundry down the stairs, the elevator door opened. He stepped out, suitcase in hand again, scarf around his neck, looking at me like no time had passed. "Hey," he said, his smile familiar and new at once. "You came back," I whispered. "Yeah," he said softly, taking a step closer. And I realized I left something behind. My heart was pounding. "What?" He smiled faintly. "A story I wasn't done writing." For a moment, everything else disappeared. The humming lights, the cold air, even the smell of detergent. He took another step, close enough for me to feel his breath. "Can we start from where we left off?" he asked. I nodded, unable to stop smiling. "Laundry room." He laughed. "Perfect setting." So we went down together, back to where it all began. The same humming machines. The same flickering light. But this time the silence wasn't empty. It was full of something gentle, real, and alive. He reached for my hand.